Gather round, heroes, and join me for an in-depth look at the secrets of Demeo. In this episode, we peruse the wares of Cleepto and his traveling bazaar. Cleepto is a meandering merchant roaming Gilmera in a never-ending search for more commerce. He'll offer you new ability cards at bargain prices. You'll find him every time you complete level 1 and level 2. Even if you've been down 3 times and were completely removed from the game, Cleepto resurrects all players and heals them to a minimum of 5 hit points. At the Bazaar, you can also make use of the Save and Leave feature to create a checkpoint for you to come back later and continue your game. This saved game only vanishes once the game is concluded, either in victory, defeat, or by leaving the game. If the player who saved the game quits Demeo, they will be able to use the same saved game multiple times. At the Bazaar, you can't do much except save and shop. But from the game's point of view, it's still player 1's turn. Even though they can't actually do anything, you will notice on the next level where any buffs will lose a turn of duration. When I play with the Bard, I put him in the player 1 slot so nobody loses courageousness. Each hero can hold up to 9 non-replenishing cards in their hand.
Listen to this.
Cleepto has mostly universal cards to sell you, but also 3 class cards. We've covered class cards in other episodes, so we'll be focusing on the remaining universal or global cards. These include everything found at points of interest and monster drops. Cleepto also buys your cards for between 1/2 and 1/3 the sell price, though you'll notice a lot of variation. It's like there are some cards he just doesn't want. For example, Scrolls of Lightning and Tsunami cost the same, but Tsunami sells for 60% while Lightning sells for only 30%. You'll find there is only one way to get rid of cards here. While at the Bazaar, players cannot recycle cards for mana. This means any gold left is your retirement fund. Depending on where you are, Cleepto has a different stock available, and a different stock for each hero for some reason. It starts out with basic stock in Book 1, the Black Sarcophagus. 6 abilities and gadgets, 3 class cards, 1 random potion, and 1 guaranteed healing potion. Book 2, Realm of the Rat King, keeps the basics, although one of the gadget cards is always a barricade, and adds 4 more cards. 1 torch, 1 antitoxin, 1 torch or antitoxin, and 1 more potion. Book 3, Roots of Evil, is just the basics again, which can make you feel a little underprepared against the more difficult mini-bosses. Starting from Book 4, Curse of the Serpent Lord, the Bazaar gets really packed with 4 extra good cards. Because of the relatively easy mini-bosses, this makes me rank Book 4 as the second easiest. On top of the basics, you get 1 water flask, an extra ability and gadget card, and 2 extra potions. Book 5, Reign of Madness, continues to spoil you in the same way as Book 4 does, but now you actually need it to deal with all the rifts.
Enjoy.
Whatever you buy, try to fill out your card hand. There are lots of things that cost about 50 gold that can be burned for mana in the next level. The minimum value added to the mana bar is 10% in a 4-player game, 12% with 3, 13% with 2, and 28% with only 1 player. Cleepto is the most prevalent and important trader you'll meet, but other traders can be found in level 2 of books 4 and 5. They don't sell things for gold, but they will trade items with you, if you have something they want. These and other helpful NPCs are found at the POI marked in yellow. The nameless artifact monger in Book 4 converts 1 jeweled scarab into high-valued cards for everyone. He talks like he'll accept more, but he's talking about the next time you play, not right now.
As agreed upon.
The beggar in Book 5 is actually Thulard Samal, who travels the world hiding in plain sight, guarding the legacy of his uncle, an ingenious inventor and builder. You can learn a lot about the lore of this game by trading with him, and each card has multiple stories that he might deliver. But this isn't a lore video, it's a shopping guide. You can trade with him up to 4 times before the yellow POI marker disappears.
To grant an old man something to help.
Once is reserved for a rejuvenation card and ties into the main plot of the game. The other 3 times, you're free to trade any number of water flask, teleportation, strength potion, oil lamp, repeating ballista, and bone cards. You can deal with NPCs by moving onto them like you're opening a chest. or if you're in line of sight within 3 spaces, by clicking on the Interact button above them. You can interact with them multiple times in a turn using that button. Alright, time to get into the cards. Summons are any cards that bring a creature to you or moves you someplace else. The universal constant here is that all summons require an empty space. Barricade places a quick palisade up to 3 spaces and acts just like a stunned hero, with 10 hit points, 0 movement, and 0 action points. Enemies will target it if it's the closest thing to them. It stops enemies from moving through it, but not friendlies. Monsters with only ranged and magical attacks aren't affected by it. Elven mystics will get stuck on it.
The monsters are drawn to you.
Place it to keep enemies from reaching you, or to bring enemies to a specific place for a follow-up attack. Or just recycle it for mana. It's one of the cheapest ways to get the minimum mana boost. In this series, we're going to do the Best Application Fighting Things Award, or BAFTA. In this case, for the Barricade card, the Sorcerer wins for his crowd-controlling abilities to take advantage of monsters grouped together.
I will destroy you.
Detect Enemies summons a scrying beacon anywhere on the board. If the space you select is occupied, it moves to an adjacent space at random. If there's no space around the target, the spell fails. The scrying beacon sees all, unaffected by the darkness in Book 2. It shares what it sees with the party, dispelling the fog of war. Monsters it reveals will attack it, but new monsters will not spawn into an observed area. The Unsettling Eyeball has only 3 hit points, 0 movement, and 0 action points, so it doesn't normally last long. If you're summoning it into a nearby room, place it against the far wall to draw enemies away from your position. It's great for defense, since you can put it anywhere, not only in your line of sight, or even anyone's line of sight. After it's destroyed, you retain the knowledge of any coin piles and points of interest it saw. I prefer to use this as a Detect Exit spell, because there always seems to be that one POI that's out of the way. Playing this card does not expose the Stealthed Assassin. This can be received from the beggar in exchange for a bone card. The BAFTA award goes to Warlock for Looking Before She Leaps. Repeating Ballista builds a siege weapon within 5 spaces that's part Leonardo da Vinci invention and part IKEA furniture.
IKEA doesn't assemble itself, you know.
You're telling me.
It has 7 hit points, 0 movement, and 3 action points, giving it 3 attacks. Each hit does 2 damage with a 50% chance. It stacks nicely with Frozen and Marked, but does not target lamps, and a miss that hits a lamp will do no damage. It can be traded to the beggar for a Reveal Path card. The BAFTA award goes to the Assassin, for an arsenal he can assemble while remaining concealed. Summon Elemental summons a friendly unit, either an Ice or Fire Elemental, anywhere in line of sight. It has 12 hit points, 2 movement, and 2 action points. It melee attacks for 2 damage and never misses. Although you cannot guarantee what target it will select, it's usually good for blocking tight doorways and corridors placed right next to a monster. After it attacks, it doesn't move, and you can completely box in an enemy.
It's the monster.
If it's at least 4 spaces away, there's a 50% chance it will shoot a bolt instead. Ice does 4 damage and freezes, and Fire does 5 damage, though these ranged attacks only hit about 50% of the time. If you prefer your elemental using its ranged attack, be sure to summon it away from any enemies. Although the description says it will randomly self-destruct, it's not random at all, nor is it certain to happen. The elemental will live for 9 turns before self-destructing at the end of monster movement. This can mess up friendlies, too. When an elemental explodes, it does 2 ice or fire damage in a 5x5 area. Which actually isn't terrible, but getting frozen can get you killed. Keep away from them when you notice the self-destruct counter. It can be difficult, but try to guess where it will go on its final move and give it a wide berth. If possible, you can send them away.
You are not sending me to the cooler.
But why lose them at all? If you can get your elemental buddies to the end of a level, you can keep them forever. Save and leave, then immediately host the saved game and get everybody back in. The countdown stops, and they will never self-destruct. Even if you already see the timer above them, it will not progress. At least until Resolution fixes this. This card has excellent mana value.
What can I do for you?
The BAFTA award goes to the Bard for his ally-enhancing abilities. Regroup can only be played on yourself, and teleports everyone in your party as close as possible. This includes friendlies, charmed enemies, and lures, but not other emplacements. If they can't all fit, players are prioritized and friendlies might be left behind. Occupied spaces are ignored, even if the occupant is being moved by the regroup. This can actually be used to make some space if you're being crowded. This has several different uses. It's great for pulling the party out of danger, even if it's just one hero that's wandered off and maybe gotten themselves downed. It can be used for fast travel if played by an assassin that has snuck away to find the exit. Maybe a barbarian has hooked his way into a good place, or some other hero banished by the sorcerer to the far reaches of the map and wants to see his friends again. The final way to use this is the Richard maneuver, also called the Dick move, where you are the last player about to get clobbered and instead surround yourself by other players to get clobbered. This card is excellent resale and mana value. Playing it does not expose the stealthed assassin.
I need my friends.
The BAFTA award goes to the Bard for pulling the team together for a sing-song. Teleportation brings you to the location of your choice, anywhere on the board. If the target space is occupied, you will appear in an adjacent one. Used for exploration, it can take you someplace unknown but full of hope, and also monster spawns. If you aren't stealthed or adamant, take precautions. Have another action point ready to react at the destination, or a friend who can bring you back next turn with a healing fountain or rejuvenation. Used for maneuvering, it lets you pinpoint where you want to be. I like to have this card for my bard to ensure that he can use Courage Shanty no matter how far the subject has wandered. Maybe you need to get past a throng of baddies, or you need to be in a perfect spot to unleash a deadly tsunami. It's very satisfying to swoop in and save the day. This card has excellent resale and mana value. In addition, it can be traded to the beggar for a jeweled scarab, which has even better resale and mana. The BAFTA award goes to the Assassin for stealthy exploration. Abilities and gadgets include a great variety of spells for offense, defense, and information gathering. Scroll of Lightning lets the whole party be as devastatingly chaotic as the overcharged sorcerer. It operates the same as the lightning bolt, targeting enemies, charmed, objects, and water puddles in line of sight at long range and doing 3 magical damage or 6 on a crit. From there, it chains to secondary targets within a 9x9 area for 1 magical damage, and each secondary target can possibly chain again. If it hits the same target more than once, the magic bonus applies multiple times. Each target struck is stunned for 1 turn. Wet targets take triple damage and dry out. It is unpredictable, chaining 2 to 4 times and reaching maybe halfway across the board or maybe just to the next space. More wet targets and spaces bring more chaos. The one thing that you can rely on is the player using this card is never struck by their own lightning. Although it is good mana value, don't bother trying to sell it. The BAFTA goes to the Sorcerer for giving him the ability to use Lightning Bolt while wet. Scroll of Tsunami is dangerous to the party if you don't know what you're doing. It targets enemies, charmed objects, and empty spaces in line of sight up to 15 spaces away. The targeting path only shows the main stream, and this can actually make it difficult to aim those trick shots properly. It's not just your hero projecting a stream of water, but the 3 spaces to the left and to the right as well, for a total of 7 spaces projecting the same stream for a river measuring 7 by 15 maximum. Walls to the left and right can reduce the width of the river, and if any of the 7 streams hits a wall, it stops without affecting the other streams. Here I'm trying to get 2 streams out, so I have to make sure that the targeting path isn't next to a wall. Diagonal is fine. And here's another one threading the needle. Cliffs affect it the same way as a wall. This river won't even flow downhill unless it's taking the stairs. Any creatures are picked up and pushed to the end of the stream. They stop before barriers like walls, but get pushed up or down cliffs and can reach some unexpected places. Anchored objects like corruption shards and rifts do not move. These barriers can actually catch monsters being washed away, even if they are destroyed. However far they move, everything washed downstream takes 2 to 5 magical damage and becomes wet. There are no critical hits with this, damage is just random, which means you can't miss, making the pushback effect something you can plan with certainty. The river widening left and right is done on the straight, never diagonally like a magic wall. It's not difficult to predict except for exactly diagonal strikes. Those will have a 50-50 chance of spreading out north-south or east-west, and can accidentally hit friendlies. Much easier is to target it so it's not exactly diagonal. Or if you can only fire it diagonally, just calculate what will be hit if the width grows out north-south, and then again for east-west. Where they overlap is a 100% chance to hit, where they do not is a 50% chance it will be hit. The card has fair resale value and good mana value. The BAFTA goes to the Sorcerer, for being able to follow up with a bulk electrocution, and likely with a magical damage bonus from magic potions as well. Heaven's Fury summons a rain of swords up to 9 spaces away, even into unseen areas. This range is circular, not the typical square, so diagonally you're only getting about 6 spaces. A total of 18 swords fall randomly on friend and foe in a 7x7 area, striking for 3 magical damage each or 4 on a crit. It often yields disappointing results, but you can do a couple of things to increase the damage dealt by adjusting the enemy to area ratio. You can reduce the target area to be smaller. It won't go through walls and closed doors, so casting it in a corner or tight corridor can decrease the area to, for example, 1/3 and increase the chances of hitting something by 3 times. Because a magic wall is treated like a regular wall, it can be used to craft the area of effect. In fact, it's possible to trap an enemy in a 1x1 area where it will be struck by all 18 swords, 54 damage minimum. That's what's called the Barrier of Fury. This card has excellent resale and mana value. And the BAFTA goes to the Sorcerer for the Barrier of Fury.
He's already dead.
Rejuvenation can be used on your hero or friendlies within 1 space, but the result is the same. It heals all party members, companions, friendly units, charmed enemies, and emplacements to full, removing negative status effects. Just checking you noticed I said charmed enemies. That can be an unpleasant surprise. This is one of 2 cards that can be used by a downed hero. This card has excellent resale and mana value. In addition, it can be traded to the Beggar, to Lord Samal, for a unique weapon against the Mad Elven King, Ralma's Reckoning. Reveal Path puts the revealed status effect on the keyholder and the exit, letting you see where they are at all times, as well as check out their stats and current hit points. It's great for speedrunning a level, especially Book 2 Realm of the Rat King, where the final boss of the level can take forever to find. When revealed, the Rat King will usually come straight for you, but sometimes you can be caught just wandering around. A revealed enemy is not the same as a seen enemy. You can't melee attack a revealed enemy unless you can also see it. This means without light, you have to be within 2 spaces. This card has excellent mana value, and one of the best resale values in the game. Thanks for checking out another masterclass. If you learned anything, you might be interested in pressing this like button for only 99 gold pieces. Know something I don't? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Keep an eye out for part 2 of Cleepto's Bazaar, where we go over gadgets, lamps, potions, and special cards. This has been my why. See you in Helmar.